The Grimoire is a brand new weapon class, a tome weapon. A spellbook by another name, it's capable of launching unlimited electric attacks and is upgradable with unique mods called Invocations and Canticles. So how does this all actually work? I'm TheKengineer, let's solve practical problem. We'll start with the acquisition. The Grimoire tome is obtainable merely by completing the quest Whispers in the Walls. Not only does it come freely, it also has a built-in Lohk Catalyst and weapon slot. If you need a duplicate, you can obtain a blueprint from the Caviar at rank 4 for 50,000 standing. The unique mods for the tomes can be obtained from the market for platinum, presently 140 platinum for all 8 mods. Alternatively, you can trade them individually from other players or farm them up yourself. These drop from the Albrecht Lab's Mirror Defense mission on a node called Munio. As the tome mods only drop on rotation C of that mode, and they're only 5% drop each, that's a very long grind. Don't be fooled into thinking 5% means you're probably done in 20 runs. Oh no, only 1.6% of players will get all 8 mods in 20 or fewer rotation C runs. The real 50% point is at 49 runs, with 1 in 10 players needing over 86 runs, or 1 in 100 players needing over 130 runs. Considering a rotation C run is about 25 minutes, that's a very long time. Theoretically, you can get a full set sooner by trading any duplicate tome mods you get for others. The reality is some are vastly more desirable than others. If you roll the less desirable ones, you're not much closer to finishing a set. Unlike the Mars Mirror Defense, where doing the objective to pick up the fragment spawns lets you buy loot, the Labs version doesn't get you a currency to buy the tome mods. Instead, you get a small amount of Stellar. In the current state of this drop table, I'd highly recommend that you farm platinum elsewhere and buy the pack from the market. That is, unless you particularly enjoy Mirror Defense or despise trading. Let's look at what these mods each do then to determine why you drop the platinum. Then we'll see how the Grimoire uses them. Of the 8 tome mods, all named with words from Void Tongue, 4 are Canticles and 4 are Invocations. Invocations provide support to your Warframe's ability casting, while Canticles provide team buffs from kills or assists with the tome. Notably, even though the Canticle mod states kills, you only need to have recently damaged the enemy with the tome and have it equipped when that enemy dies. They can die from the tome, from your abilities, from a status block of another weapon, or even from an ally killing them. So long as your tome is equipped and you damage the enemy with it in the last 5 seconds, then it activates. A damaging status proc from the tome will also keep resetting the 5-second window, while a non-damaging proc like Corrosive will not. Invocations, on the other hand, only need to strike an enemy to activate. The trade-off is that only the alternate fire on the tome activates the effect, and then you need to hit multiple times in order to max out the effect. All 4 invocations have a 13 mod drain cost, taking up a decent amount of space even with a 4 mod slot. For Netra, Riss and Vome, they each provide 4% to efficiency, duration and strength per hit respectively, up to 60% on 15 hits and lasting for 20 seconds. An enemy can be hit multiple times by the same alternate fire to ramp up the effect. What's more, the stacks all share a single timer. If you get a 60% strength buff, and then within the 20 seconds hit another enemy with the alternate fire, the entire 60% strength buff is reset to 20 seconds. With careful tome management, you can keep these buffs up indefinitely. The strength buff is a snapshot, meaning that if you cast an ability while that buff is active, you'll continue to have the ability stay at that value while active even if the buff runs out. However, the duration and efficiency buffs are live updated for toggled abilities, increasing your energy drain to normal once the invocation expires. The Xata Invocation is a little different. It has a Naramon dash polarity instead of the Madurai V polarity of the others, and it only stacks up to 10 times instead of 15. The Xata buff provides 1 energy per second per stack. At full effect then, this provides 10 energy per second, twice the bonus of Xeric Wellspring operator ability. Just like most energy regen over time features, this effect is paused if you have an ongoing energy drain. That affects abilities like Sevagoth's Gloom with enemies in range, or Equinox's Maim while active. As these invocations all require the alternate fire to work, taking steps to be able to use that more often is generally a good idea. I'll cover that in more detail in a moment for the Grimoire. The Canticle mods are lower drain than the invocations and can be put into the Excellus slot. 2 of them, Lohk and Jahu, use the Madurai polarity, and the others, Fass and Khra, use the Naramon polarity. All 4 Canticles have very different effects from each other. Lohk Canticle provides you and allies within affinity range a 30% fire rate boost for 15 seconds when triggered. The fire rate applies to all your weapons for the duration, including melee. That said, this fire rate boost is additive to mods, making it a low overall increase. It can also pose a problem for allies using builds relying on certain fire rates, such as staying below 2.5 for internal bleeding. Overall, it's a potential DPS boost, but a relatively limited one. Fass Canticle on trigger will give you and allies in affinity range a 40% faster shield recharge rate, a minus 28% shield recharge delay. On its own, this means your shields will start regenerating in 2.88 seconds rather than 4 seconds if fully broken. Overall, this mod is another means to achieve consistently regenerating shields for your defense and can be partnered with mods like Fast Deflection on your Warframe for rapid recovery. However, for your allies, it's unlikely to be much value. This mod you need to lean into for it to really matter. Jahu Canticle on trigger will drain 5% of the armor and shields of all other enemies in affinity range. 5% may not seem like a lot, and in truth it really isn't, but it is additive with ability based defense removals and the corrosive projection aura. This means if the enemies are already 95% armor stripped and you trigger Jahu, their remaining armor will be removed. This doesn't apply to armor reduction from corrosive and heat procs, as those multiply with abilities. Due to needing a tome to be both equipped and tagging the enemies killed, this usually won't be all that effective. After all, if you can strip 80% or more of defenses, you can probably strip the remaining portion without needing the tome. Where this can become effective is when you're in a squad with everyone running corrosive projection. Alone, it removes 18% of armor, which means a squad will reach 72% with 4 auras. If at least 3 squad members also use the Coaction Drift mod, the squad will reach the cap of 80% armor reduction from auras. From that point on, you'd need a further 20% strip from some other source to reach total armor removal, and that's precisely what the Jahu Canticle can do. Tag 4 enemies, have them killed while the tome is equipped, and that's an affinity range permanent total armor strip. This is with no line of sight required neither. On top of that, as additional enemies feed into the killing area, or you move towards them, the currently armor stripped ones can then also be tagged by the tome to continue spreading the effect onto new targets. Outside of such a squad, the effect will be weaker. Removing half the armor from a group of enemies will make them roughly twice as easy to kill, but that also requires 10 kills tagged by the tome while the tome is equipped. The last canticle is Khra. Triggering enemies will have a 12% chance to drop a universal orb on death. There's nothing particularly special to note about this, simply an orb that provides both 25 energy and 25 health at the same time. This can be a helpful sustain for casting abilities, working nicely with orb enhancing effects such as Equilibrium. If you're looking for more sustain on your ability casting, tagging enemies with this canticle will improve that. If you and your team already have enough orb drops, taking the time and mod space to use this wouldn't help. It's a simple feature and a simple choice. In order to get the most out of these canticles and invocations with the Grimoire, the aim is to meet the triggering conditions as consistently and simply as possible. So, what does the Grimoire bring? The Grimoire itself is an infinite ammo, automatic electric projectile weapon, able to equip 1 invocation and 1 canticle. The area of effect on its normal attack is a piddling 1 meter, with a painful 80% fall off. Functionally then, it's a single target weapon with a base 150 damage per shot, 1.5 fire rate, and modest critical stats of 20% crit chance and 2 times critical multiplier. This puts it close to the output of the Spearer throwing knives, lower still when accounted for using tome mods. With stats like that, it can kill things, but very slowly compared to even decent weapons in the current meta. Grimoire Alternate Fire launches a slow-moving wide projectile. Unlike many large projectiles, this targets only 1 enemy in range at a time. It then chains from that enemy to others based on your multi-shot, hitting up to 3 times your multi-shot and up to a few meters from each successive target in the chain. Each target will take a small amount of damage with no drop off down the chain, plus a guaranteed electric proc on top of normal status procs. The projectile will attempt to hit every second from launch, up to 6 seconds, before exploding in a weak AoE with no chain effect. After firing, it takes 45 seconds to recharge the alternate fire. This is reduced by 1 second for every hit you score with the normal fire, including multi-shot. Clearly then, modding for hits per second is crucial for recharging. As neither mode is particularly effective on its own for getting kills, we can look to use the Grimoire as a support and primer weapon. it has a good 26% status chance, so modding for viral alongside the innate electric will apply both a powerful damage enhancement and an ongoing damage effect to support your kills. The electric procs also allow you to use conjunction voltage, adding even more multi-shot to the Grimoire. As kills are not expected nor intended with the Grimoire at any decent level, there's no need to use galvanized mods. Normal sure shot for status chance and normal barrel diffusion for multi-shot are plenty sufficient. That said, the only downside to using the galvanized versions is the former cost. With this setup here, applying 2 V polarity former, you can comfortably fit all the mods for this core approach, as well as being able to swap in all the invocations and canticles. If you're using the Xata Invocation, move 3 mods around to this configuration instead. With 4.35 fire rate and 2.8 multi-shot, this provides 12 seconds of alternate fire cooldown reduction per second, allowing you to fire off the alternate fire every 3.4 seconds. With conjunction voltage added in, this rises to 4.0 multi-shot, providing 17 seconds cooldown per second, giving a recharge time of just 2.5 seconds. You don't need the alt fire that often, that's just how quick you can get it back. Using that same 4 multi-shot, each tick from the alternate fire can chain up to a max of 12 enemies, enough to fully or near fully stack the invocations in a single tick. This also means a lot of enemies will have ongoing damage effects on them to qualify for the canticles. Overall, the Grimoire is a caster's best friend, enhancing casting stats where you need them, while also bringing minor extra buffs in the canticles. If your secondary weapon is not crucial to your setup, or at the very least is replaceable with the Grimoire's own status output, I highly recommend incorporating it into your builds for energy management or achieving higher strength offloaded from your Warframe mods. It may seem complicated or cumbersome at first, but the Grimoire can be a simple and significant benefit to your loadout. A big thank you to the continued support of both members on Patreon and subscribers on Twitch who allow me to keep bringing these guides to all of you. If you want to see more, sign up yourself and get even more benefits with the links in the video description. That's all from me for now though, so as always, throw shocks, land procs, and fight well, Tenno.